have a few housekeeping items that we have to take care of before we start. And that's generally the exits, which are here and this side. So take the nearest exit is emergency, taking out there. The bathrooms to use are the ones out of this auditorium. They're going to be out and to the left. It's going to be a male and female bathroom out there as well. And we can't have anyone standing on this area at all. So you're going to have to find a seat before we can start. Okay, thank you. Along with that, if everyone would either silence or turn off their cell phones, it would be greatly appreciated. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law, state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by publication in the Westfield Leader, notification to the Solid by posting and filing.
What?
Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by publication in the Westfield Leader, notification to the Star Ledger, and by posting and filing said notice in the office of the municipal clerk. This is a special meeting of the board. At this time, we'll have a moment of silence and a flag salute.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we start, I just want to give a little background on what we're doing tonight, so everyone has to. Let me have a roll call, please. Down.
Here. William Hairston.
Here.
James Matthew.
Here.
Stephen Green.
Here.
Matthew Bellagio. Here. Robert Shear.
Here.
Paul Tarantino.
Here.
Gene Giannotti. Here. Michael Dina. Here. Craig McCarry. And Paul Nieves.
Here.
Sorry, Steve Napolitano. And John Mel.
Okay, this is again, has to do with the redevelopment plan, and it is not a formal hearing. Members do not need to be sworn, and public comment will be taken at the end of the presentation. We are here tonight to review the plan draft by Victor Vermeer, who will introduce and present the report. This is a process that we're going to go through tonight, and it's going to be the presentation by Victor first. We'll have board questions of Victor, and at the end, public questions and comments. Again, this is all going to be as far as whether we have enough time. We should be out of here by 10:30. I'm told the custodians do leave at that time. We will reschedule if we need additional time, and that's going to be for the 25th, which is a week from this Monday, or a week from today, I should say. Same place, only we'll start at 7 o'clock. And then we don't know new notification of that time and date. So if we do not finish tonight, then we will continue on Monday the 25th. Just for clarification, prior to the adoption of a redevelopment plan, the planning board shall transmit a report by way of resolution to the governing body containing its recommendation concerning the redevelopment plan. It is ultimately the governing body who has the authority to adopt the plan. We're not approving any kind of a site plan tonight. All we're doing, if it gets to a vote, is that we're going to send this by way of resolution to the mayor and council for them to review, and they will in turn make their either recommendation, they may approve it, or they may disapprove it and send it back down to us. So there are 3 items that they can do at that time. If they should approve, or if they should recommend approval, it will go through by way of the ordinance. and the ordinance is standard. There'll be 2 readings of the ordinance, and then there'll be a vote. And in the interim, in between that, there'll be public comment, time for public comment on several different occasions. So this is just the start of the process. It's not a vote to go forward with this project tonight. It's a vote to go for a resolution to forward up to the mayor and council. Just so that's clear, that's what we are here for tonight. With that, Victor, along with his firm, subsequently prepared the draft of the plan entitled South Ave Redevelopment Plan, prepared by Harbor Consultants. Victor and Harbor Consultant is our plan. So it was dated November 2015. It was revised at an open public meetings meeting on March 9th, and again scheduled to be heard on 3/23/16. The planning board has considered this plan at their meetings of November 13th, 2015, December 1st, March 9th, and again the 3/23 meeting, which was postponed because we have so many folks who are showing large interest at this time. So our special meeting for the 4th is tonight. So, with the presentation of the plan, if needed, there will be a special meeting, which I mentioned, on 4/25, and that'll start at 7 o'clock. This has been a participatory process, and the public has been informed throughout. We post. Our meetings are open. We have the agenda, just like on the council, the mayor and council does. There's an open agenda on the website, and it is posted in the Star Ledger and the Westfield Leader. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Victor, and he will give you a large amount of background information, because we realize that very few people have attended any of the prior meetings, and so we're going to back this up and pretty much start from the end. With that, I'll turn it over to Victor.
Good evening. My name is Victor Venegra. I've been on the board for okay. It's on. It's just. Victor Venegra. Been a resident of this town for over 25 years. And a planner. I've been on. That's about as loud.
You got to get closer to the microphone.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
My name is Victor Venegra. I've been a resident of this municipality for over 25 years. I've also been on this board in some fashion for over 20 years. I was a member, chairman, and I've been their professional for quite some time now. About a 20-year period of time I've been their professional. And again, I was a member and chairman many moons ago. I've been on this board for about 5 different mayors, and I've been involved with this town for quite some time. I'm also the principal president of the firm of Harbor Consultants. We're a firm, we actually started out on 2nd Avenue in Garwood in an apartment, the VTs that I rented, moved over to 444 Pine Avenue in Garwood. The firm is now located on 320 North Avenue East in Cranford. We have over 20 professionals in the state of New Jersey, and we work for over 15 municipalities and different developers throughout the state of New Jersey. I am both a professional engineer, professional planner, professional land surveyor, and been appointed by the governor DeFrancisco a number of years ago to the State Board of Professional Planners. I help regulate the professional practice of planning. I am here I work for the Borough of Garwood. I'm here for the Planning Board. I work under their guidance. The Planning Board set up a subcommittee a number of years, about a year ago. Mr. McCarran, Kathy Bellagio, Paul Tarantino are members of that subcommittee. The subcommittee would have meetings. We would sit down, go over the available data, and we would discuss the route we feel the planning board, make recommendations to the planning board. So this plan that you're going to hear tonight has been generated from a subcommittee to the planning board. We presented to the planning board, the planning board makes recommendations. So what is the planning board? The planning board, these folks to my left have been appointed by the mayor, and they've been on the board for quite some time. I think it's a very good board, it's a very educated board. And they decide how and things are developed in Garwood. But we have limited powers. The power is granted to the planning board for the municipal land use law, which is the state of New Jersey law that gives the municipality the powers to do zoning, to regulate lot sizes, etc. There's also another document you may hear, it's called the Local Redevelopment Housing Law, that permits municipalities to create what's called redevelopment areas, to permit the town to look at a certain area as a microcosm of a master plan. And what a master plan is the plan for the entire municipality. Now, a redevelopment plan is a microcosm of a master plan where you take a particular area and you study it in detail. That was already done. The piece is known as the Casale Petro piece. You can see I'm going to refer to the first board are the properties from Center Street all the way down to the old bank along North Ave, South Avenue, sorry. So this is the Casale and Petro. About 10 years ago, the council and the planning board wanted to do something about the additional stops along the train line. So we petitioned the NJ Transit multiple times. I must have been involved with 4 different matters. Going to NJ Transit, how do we increase our stops? How do we get additional stops at a train station? Over time, with the help of Kathy Velasquez, back in 2010, behind me I'm referring to, is a study that NJ Transit petitioned a number of regional planning firms to look at Garwood, do in-depth study of Garwood, how Garwood can improve its train stops and its downtown. So the slideshow I have tonight is our excerpts from that study. As you can see, the study was done in November 2010. Performed a very detailed. We looked at the demographics of Garwood, the aging of Garwood, the per capita income of the residents, if they commute, if they don't commute. I'm going to bounce back and forth. What they did have here, they had public sessions. I don't know if people remember this. Back in 2010, they met with the seniors, they had multiple meetings in the municipal building. And it was very clear in these hearings where they had flyers, handouts, questionnaires. They spent considerable amount of money to the tune of probably $500,000 of planning money, not with this planning board, not with my firm, with outside professional planners looking at traffic routing. And what was clear, and I'll go into that later, was the #1 complaint of everybody who came to these meetings were the Casale properties, the Casale Petro properties. That was the #1 complaint of urban blight in Garwood. That the recommendation was from the citizens, not from the planners. So these planning groups met with the citizens, as you can see, gave out flyers, and took feedback. And the #1 complaint was Garwood's identity as downtown. Now, this is from Garwood citizens. Its identity and the Petro Casale properties that were urban blight. So after these meetings, going to the page briefly. It's hard for you to see there, but this was the least, was entitled Places Most and Least Liked. This is from Garwood residents again. Most liked places were the Washington School, Lincoln School, Union Park. Least liked places, Casale and Petro buildings, Garwood paperboard, various North and South Ave industrial properties. So That was the #1 complaint of the citizens of Garwood in 2010. This is a study that's on file with NJ Transit. NJ Transit, it goes on into different avenues, again, the demographics. They also did a needs study, and in the needs study for the citizens, the things that the citizens in 2010 most wanted were a library and senior center, #1, a sports center for seniors and youth, additional parking at ShopRite, we all want that, make Second Avenue two-way again, or Second Avenue better, whatever would be better for schools. And as far as redevelopment, all the citizens wanted some type of good transit village at Casale, and on Garwood paperboard needs a redevelopment as a gateway into Garwood from Cranford. Now, again, this is a strictly comment to the general public. So, after taking the comments, they also performed what Garwood residents liked in the general area, what they preferred. And it was a nice compliment to this board that the development that the Garwood residents preferred was the point. 50%, and they said, what projects do they like the most in the area? And what received the least amount was, this was before Riverwalk, was downtown Cranford, only 4% found that Garwood paperboard and Garwood Point received very high grades from the Garwood residents. So this study goes on and on. It actually goes into the, again, the financial aspects, the ridership, where the rider would come from. And what was interesting in the study is that when you take the 3 towns of Westfield, Cranford, and Garwood, the ridership is closer. The majority of the NJ Transit riders are closer to Garwood than they are to, you took all 3 towns together. They did a search rate that the majority, because of the density of population, a good number of ridership was closer to the Garwood train station than to the Cranford train station. But that it would not increase the stops at the end of the study until there was additional ridership within the borough.
I can't go on. Who the hell cares? Who cares about
This is not what you
how many
care.
times the train stopped in this town? So we got to put more people so that the train can stop?
Excuse me,
Just let it finish.
sir, this is not the time for public comment. This is all we can do.
12 o'clock tonight.
This is not the time for public comment. Thank you very much.
I don't care about New Jersey train. Oh, we do. You do? Let us
Listen,
finish.
folks, this is not going to get out of hand. You will leave now if you don't knock it off. Got it? Go ahead, Victor.
I'm not going to answer particular questions just shouted out from the crowd, but this is planning. Planning takes years. You just don't decide to build up a town in 2 minutes. It doesn't happen that way. You have to get, it's like making a good dish. You have to have different ingredients, and you have to get the ingredients from different people, different sources. So we happen to live under Raritan Valley. That is why NJ Transit, and along the Raritan Valley line, we also, a municipality has 1 seat ride. It's a big thing to be located along the ride as a urban town for urban planning. So through the study, some of the findings of the study were to place development throughout the municipality. So again, we have to also learn, or I'm going to go into called COA, Council on Affordable Housing. COA had 3 rounds, round 1, round 2, and round 3. The Borough of Garwood decided to be silent and not to perform a COA study. We were waiting to find out what would happen after or joining neighbors. We had ex-mayor of Roosevelt Park, Joe Party to my left. He's going to briefly go into some of the pitfalls they ran into in Roosevelt Park. Garwood has decided through mayor and council, not just this mayor and council, but previous mayors and councils, to not perform an affordable housing plan, to not do an affordable housing plan. So Garwood chose not to perform an affordable housing plan. So by doing so, it left us open to litigation. We were lucky enough not to have any litigation, but our adjoining neighbors have had litigation for affordable housing, and we have someone here to speak about that tonight from one of our adjoining towns. So Garwood has decided to ride it out and to listen what happens, but we did join a consortium of other municipalities to defend ourselves from builders' lawsuits. We're currently involved with that consortium. My firm is not involved. Council has hired a specialist in affordable housing to present those plans, and is being currently prepared in Superior Court in Elizabeth. Our plan is put together by a woman named Jill Hartman. She represents many municipalities defending themselves against builders' remedy lawsuits. So what we have here, besides the transit village study that we looked into, is they knew, the planners, the regional planners knew that there's the Council on Affordable Housing, and the regional planners knew Garwood was deficient. So they came up with a plan to bring Garwood into conformity so we're not involved in litigation from developers. Their plan is behind me, formed by the consortium of planners hired by NJ Transit. They propose apartments to be spread throughout the municipality. Sites like Garwood have very high, they propose very residential housing component. The parking lot for Kings, they propose putting a high-rise development there also. Besides Casale, Petro would be high-density residential. The Kings parking lot, high-density residential. Garwood paperboard, high-density residential. And they actually looked at the parking lot for catering facility. Westwood. They also looked at making the Westwood a decked parking facility with apartments. That was recommendations by NJ Transit planners given to Garwood. First off, to help Garwood make its affordable component so we don't get involved in litigation, so we have some affordable housing. And number two, to plan for increased development of Garwood to increase the train ridership. Now, when you hear affordable housing, it's not low-income housing. There's two different things. Within the state of New Jersey, we have a law that for a builder to build, you have to supply 10 to 15% of all your housing has to be affordable. You see that anywhere in the state of New Jersey. All in downtown Cranford, all those projects have 10 to 15% affordable housing. I'll go into the So throughout the state, not just New Jersey, but Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maryland, if you're going to develop, no matter what, high-end housing, $1 million homes, $1 million condos, 10 to 15% have to be set aside for people in your area that fall below a certain income. So in this study originally done by NJ Transit, they found that about 1/3 of the homes in Garwood back in 2010 had their household income was above $75,000. That means that 2/3 of the households in the town town, household income was below $75,000. That was based on the 2010 census data. So, the affordable housing limits are pretty high. We'll go into that later on, but so 10% of the housing in any new development in Garwood is high-density residential, using what's called Region 2, which is Essex, Morris, Union, and Warren. A 3-person household that makes less than $65,000 would qualify for affordable housing in this development. Again, this is not federal housing. This is a state law in multiple states that 10 to 15% of new development must be affordable. Now, the private developers normally regulate and they vet out the people that are involved, who they rent to. The city does not get involved. Garwood does not have a housing authority, nor does it have the manpower to do so. So, two more things before I'd like the mayor to speak. Can't read it, but to the left is a letter from the Superior Court of the State of New Jersey, signed by Judge Karen Casale, saying that Garwood currently has immunity from litigation. And the reason Garwood has immunity from builders wanting to build condos all over town is we submitted a plan, not the board, but the council, via a woman named Jill Hartman. Her numbers are there, stating that based on calculations generated by the state of New Jersey, we are deficient by around 60 affordable housing units throughout the town. So if we plan for those 60 units to be built at some time, we would then have freedom from litigation again. So we would have immunity. So the Superior Court, so far we're still granted immunity, so we're not subject to litigation from builders. Not to say that the builders are not out there waiting to litigate. Next letter is dated, received by the Borough March 7th, 2016, from the Pulte Group. And the Pulte Group states in the letter that they respectfully request that an office be added to the notice service list to be notified in any matter relating to the borough's fair share housing plan, signed by Thomas Colombo, land acquisition manager. So what we have now are builders in the area that are interested in Garwood and to be named in case Garwood's plan does not get approved by the courts. Pulte Group would like to be the first one in line to again acquire properties anywhere in the town because we did not meet our affordable housing. So I just wanted to lay some groundwork on how did we get here? Why are we, before we go into the nuts and bolts of the plan, why are we here? Why are you here? Why is this plan this way at a train station? Because it's next to a train station, it goes into Manhattan. Why is it as dense as it's being proposed? Because the borough has an obligation to meet with affordable housing. And if we don't place it there, we'll have to place it all over the municipality. So the subcommittee has come to the conclusion that placing high-density luxury apartments next to a train station, we can get two birds with one stone. We can meet a lot of our affordable housing that's being told to us by the state. We can get it close to the train station. We'll get the young millennial. There's a lot of studios. There'll be minor studios. We'll get the millennials in there. We'll get less traffic, car traffic, because it's next to a train station. And we hopefully in the future get some additional ridership. So we were hoping the subcommittee and the planning board to get many birds with one stone. Again, to keep us out of litigation, so we don't have condos popping up or apartments at the old Pathmark. We don't have them popping up on the west side of South Avenue. We don't have them popping up in parking lots where these developers make a lot of money off of these apartments. They're waiting for any town, not just Garwood, Cranford, Westfield, Scotch Plains, to not do their due diligence, to not get an approved plan through. They will litigate with every piece of property they can find, and normally they win. Now, I'd like to introduce...
Can I ask you a question on this, sir?
I want to keep the questions down to a minimum.
Just one question.
We'll have questions at the end.
One. These are
No,
sections.
sir, no, I open it to...
It's not open for questions or comments right
These
now.
section 8s, they're not open, section 8s.
It's not open. This time of the meeting.
Are
it's
they
not open.
section
Please sit down and I'll answer that one question. Please sit down. This is a luxury.
This is not
Section 8s
Yeah.
are something that the federal government, the state hands out. You'll probably have more Section 8s in two-family homes that are not well kept. This proposal is for luxury apartments. It comes with a gymnasium, pools, rooftop dining, retail, parking decks. I've worked on tens of thousands of projects, residential projects. I've never worked on a project with Section 8s, with private pools, rooftop restaurants, and parking decks. But please, I don't want to answer any more calls from the public. I want to hand the microphone over to Mayor Joe Cardi.
Hi, my name is Joe McCarty. I'm the former mayor of Roselle Park. I come to you, I really don't have a voice in this case. I really come here with a clean slate, zero notes. And I come to you to tell you a bit of our story. And I just want to tell you that those who do not study history are condemned to repeat it. Roselle Park is similarly situated to Garwood. We're blue-collar community historically, middle-income families, single, two-family households. We live along the Garwood Valley line. Westfield Avenue, which turns into North Avenue here, is our main thoroughfare. And Roselle Park had been a largely industrial community along the railroad lines. That had started changing as industry left and rail siding became less and less available. Can you hear me, ma'am? I know that there was some concern before that you couldn't hear. Can you all hear me over here? Can you all hear me over there?
Yeah.
Okay. By many accounts, my tenure as mayor was very successful. I was named the Mayor of the Year in 2014 for Union County. We survived both Hurricane Irene and Hurricane Sandy, not because we had less damage than the surrounding communities, but because we implemented a recovery effort for each one of those natural disasters rather quickly. There was some cost involved with that. But we recognized that there would be FEMA funding coming down the road. Most of the plans that we had, doing a revaluation, which is not politically popular among residents, was approved during my tenure as mayor. And as you can see by what's going on in the state right now, revaluations are becoming quite important. Roselle Park has a stable resident base. The numbers haven't changed drastically for the past two censuses. What has changed, however, is the concept of density. It sounds like the biggest concern that you all have from the comments that I'm hearing is density. Roselle Park, which is similarly situated to you all, is the most densely populated community in Union County. Just think about that. We're single, double families mostly, and we're the most densely populated community in Union County. More densely populated than Elizabeth, more densely populated than Plainfield. Our per square mile population is greater than any other community in the county. And yet, we were facing a similar situation to what you're facing right now. It's not about New Jersey Transit saying that you should become a commuter village. It really isn't. New Jersey Transit sees what is going on, and they're trying to assist you by coming up with the studies, to provide the facts, to show you what could happen. Let me just talk about the New Jersey Transit studies for a minute. New Jersey Transit estimates that by adding the one-seat ride into New York City, property values increased approximately $5,000 the first year, and then about 5% for every minute saved on the commute into New York City. So just think about that. Your property values increasing that kind of money, that kind of worth. New Jersey Transit isn't getting. New Jersey Transit is translating what the requirements are from the state. So when you hear the studies from New Jersey Transit, please understand they're not pushing for this. They're translating what the state is recommending happen in the community. And you are best placed to succeed in getting the density that the state requires because of your location along the New Jersey Transit roads. Now let me talk about Roselle Park and what we went through. Before I became mayor, we recognized that there were certain areas that needed some kind of redevelopment. Roselle Park had been a fairly stable or dying community, and the question was always, are we going to become Elizabeth, or are we going to become Cranford? And we've been stagnant in that role for the past 15 or 20 years. Roselle Park lost its movie theater. Roselle Park lost the car dealership that we had. So Roselle Park's economy took a hit when Romanovsky Brothers, a large facility, cut down on their operations. Roselle Park has a large development possibility around our train station on what's known as the Ryan property. Roselle Park residents came out in mass when there was a proposal to develop the Ryan property, and that proposal was shot down. There were concerns about traffic, there were concerns about density, there were concerns about low-income housing. There were concerns about increasing the number of students that would go to our schools. There were concerns about those people coming into our town. That property, 20 years later, sits vacant. The Sullivan property on Westfield Avenue is a target for redevelopment. During my tenure, in 2010, the property was bought by a developer. The developer understood all of the proposals that were out there, understood all of the things that we were trying to do to make the Sullivan property integral to our downtown development plan. That developer decided what he wanted to do was put pads on that property. That property is now sat fallow for 7 years. He brought a proposal before a planning board similar to what you have sitting here, and it was shot down. Pads are stores on a concrete pad, sometimes called box stores, Dollar General, AutoZone. Those are the types of stores that you want to bring into our downtown community. And the residents didn't want that either. When I became mayor, one of the things that I started pointing out to people was what you have here in Garwood. Garwood Point. You have a shop right across the street with a parking lot that clearly doesn't have the capacity. But then you have Garwood Point. It's a mixed use, and I believe over 55 community in the background. That is the type of density, I believe, that you're talking about from the drawings that I see here. I don't know But towns like Cranford are no longer the towns that we look up to in terms of development. Towns like Garwood and Garwood Point are the towns that Rosa Park is pointing to. Let me tell you why. Cranford has now faced 3 builders' remedy lawsuits in order to get to the point where they are. Rosa Park faced the builders' remedy lawsuit as a result of the Romanovsky property redevelopment. The developer came in and decided they wanted to put a apartment complex, luxury apartment complex, where the Romanovsky property is. Residents were thoroughly opposed to it. We don't want low-income housing. We don't want extra density. We don't want extra children in our schools. We don't want to offer a pilot program. A pilot is a payment in lieu of taxes, which is what the builder was not asking, demanding, in order to come into Rosa Park to build. They sued us because we didn't have that letter of protection from Judge Casale, as you see there. The letter of protection that extends your immunity from a lawsuit will expire at some point, and then you'll be open to a lawsuit. I don't know what the budget is, the annual budget for Garwood. I can tell you that the annual budget for Rosa Park is probably similar to what you're facing here. The cost of the lawsuit, the cost of the lawyers for the lawsuit for Rosa Park was upwards of $400,000. $400,000 for a community with 4,200 taxpayers. I've gone down to Alexandria, Virginia for the past 5 years to speak to the board of Avalon Bay every year during their annual meeting. And what I've told them is that they came into Rosa Park and they stuck a knife in our gut and they said, give me $1,000 to every resident, every taxpayer in Rosa Park. We'd have them arrested. What they did was they came into Rosa Park and it cost every taxpayer $1,000. Just think about it. For the cost of legal fees. One of the things that came out of the Avalon Bay lawsuit was that we then had to meet our COLA obligations. And we did so through the guidance of Judge Casale, through several means. We were building a senior housing project to cover some of our COLA obligation. Any developer that comes in will get some COLA housing. We also set aside rehabilitation funds. So over the course of 5 years, residents who met certain income criteria could get interest-free loans to rehab their houses. From that perspective, what's happened is houses that were deteriorating have now been fixed up. When we recently did our tax revaluation, those houses are now valued more. So eventually, the tax base will reestablish because of the rehab of those houses. But if a developer comes into town, we still have COLA obligations to those developers. Now, COLA, the question was Section 8 housing. No, COLA is not Section 8 housing. One of the things that I was amazed by was when I did some research on what COLA actually entailed and the income levels that you're looking at. Section 8 housing is generally considered low-income housing assistance for people that cannot otherwise afford to get a house or an apartment, any kind of place to live. COLA housing tends to have a higher threshold. And I can't remember exactly what the dollar amount was in our town, but it may have started as something as low as $68,000 for a husband and wife, $72,000 for a family of 3, $75,000 or $78,000 for a family of 4, and those people would qualify for COA housing. I would bet that some of you sitting there today might even qualify for that COA housing. There were times in my life where I wish I had COA housing available to me, because I would have loved to live in some of the complexes that now have COA housing. Avalon Bay stabbed us in the gut in Roselle Park. My community is now finally reaching the point, 8 years later, of paying off our legal debt. My community is finally reaching the point where we've met our COA obligations to the extent that we're required to meet them at this point. If history can serve as a guide to the town of Garwood, I would ask you to at least consider opening the conversation to what some of you perhaps mistakenly believe will be a huge downside to the community, and recognize a town like Roselle Park actually had some enormous upside that we weren't counting on. Some of the things that I see here tonight, a large group of residents that are here to discuss this plan, to discuss the potential of some kind of development, is a good thing. It truly is a good thing to open conversation. It's a good thing to open respectful conversation. All that I would ask you to do is to learn from the history of Roselle Park. In some ways, learn from the history of Cranford. Learn from the history of the other surrounding communities that faced builders' remedy lawsuits because they didn't have a planning board and a mayor and council that prepared a plan to go before a judge in advance, so that way you don't face the legal fees and the lack of control over what you accidentally did. So I would ask you to open the conversation, be respectful of each other, and recognize that everybody's going to get what they want. In our case, we didn't get what we wanted. Avalon Bay never came to Roselle Park. But what we did get was some unthought of benefits and rehab housing in our community, and the senior housing that's coming into our town, which hopefully will benefit our seniors. The rehab will benefit people that otherwise might not have been able to improve their houses, which makes the entire community a much better place. And I also can almost guarantee you from the studies that I've seen that if the housing is placed in the proper locations, what you're going to get is the upwardly mobile residents who are interested in those higher paying jobs in New York City that don't want to have 2 cars on the street, that want to commute by train. So I ask you to at least be open-minded as you go forward this evening. I will answer any questions anybody has. If you want to go to Facebook, you can still find my Mayor Joe Carney Facebook page, and you can communicate to me through that Facebook page, or you can reach out to me. My phone number is listed. You can reach out to me also in my community. And I thank you all for having this course.
Yes, Joe took his time out tonight and came out tonight because I assisted Roosevelt Park for a couple of years and looking at what they're doing. And they still have an uphill struggle because they have yet to build enough of their affordable housing. When Avalon Bay pulled out, they haven't met their obligation. So right now, Roosevelt Park is looking to do redevelopment areas along North Avenue and Dunbar, and 15% of the housing needs will have to be affordable. So the old Skinner and Cook factories will be coming down. That's going to be apartments with 50% set aside for affordable properties. Next to Skinner and Cook are coming down. That's going to be 15% affordable housing. The Superior Court's not having much patience. Right now, Scott Plain, OPRA is coming in. They just put multi-millions of dollars.
Mike's out.
Mike's out.
They just placed large funding into both paths. And right now, before South Plains Planning Board, are going to give 400 units at the boat path facility. South Plains doesn't want 400 units at boat path. It's on a highway. It's not near a train station. It's not near a bus route. But the developers are in litigation with South Plains and going to go up with their selecting the boat path. I can go on and on. My constructor and next to me represents Berkeley Heights. We have 5 sites. We have 5 sites ongoing with litigation against the municipality to meet their total requirements. So this is something we're all dealing with. Every municipality in New Jersey is dealing with. We're not the only ones. Every municipality is dealing with this. Frankfurt decided to fight it in court. I know because there's a neighbor of mine. I know where my office is. They fought it in court and lost all 3 rounds. They spent $1 million in litigation, over $1 million in information. They lost every case. And one of the apartments is behind my office. Woodlawn was a loser. Frankfurt lost. In fact, I was the original engineer for the developer who wanted to come in with high-end senior housing, flats with 70K. The developer got approval, and then decided, well, they didn't meet their affordable housing, we're going to litigate. Frankfurt said, fine, go ahead, we're not going to approve it. Frankfurt denied it, won in court. Now, the Woodlawn is a very unexpected pleasing project. We found the Roosevelt border on South Ave. As part of the litigation, the town lost. Once the town loses in court, the board has no longer jurisdiction. Right now, we're looking to do a plan with the developer, a potential developer, who's here tonight, and we'd like to go possibly as a commission set up business class. He wants to do high-end luxury apartments. The town still has jurisdiction in how the development looks, how it feels, how much parking is available to commuters, how much parking is available to residents, shoppers. We're working with a potential developer. If you don't work with a potential developer, you put in a Woodlawn, which is vinyl-sided windows, mixed with some ethos, mixed with some vinyl siding, and it's just one mass of apartments. What we're looking to do at the planning board phase here is to come up with a cohesive plan. And I'll get into that a little bit now. Over time, when we sat down with regional planners through NJ Transit, with COA planners, we said we wanted a downtown. We just didn't want a large clustering of apartment buildings. So we gave the developer certain requirements that referred to there, that's layout there. Across the street from the municipal building, we're going to have a public plaza. The public plaza is over, I think that's 15 to 20,000 square feet of public space for outdoor dining, maybe for the Christmas tree lighting, other things that the residents of Garwood can use that are not restricted by the developer. This is going to be an area that Garwood is going to have control over. And with the developer, have certain functions, Easter egg hunts, those types of facilities, those types of activities. But also, we were planning over time, this is what the planning board and the subcommittee was that we need parking. So we kind of said, okay, in a perfect world, what do we want? We need additional parking downtown. And that came up time and time again in our studies. So the plan worked with the developer, a potential developer, was to have approximately 90 spaces of parking behind the structure available to shoppers in Garwood. 90. They'll be open, not just, so if I wanted to pull into the facility and park and stop by and have a cup of coffee, I could leave my car there and do some shopping. This is something that is very important. We also went to potential developers, we need transit parking. Developers come up with a possible plan for a multi-level deck with a top deck available for commuter parking. Get out of the car, have approximately 50 parking spaces available for commuter parking with an elevator, ADA accessible, down to the first level, so you can go over to the train station. So the board started putting a wish list together. And the wish list was parking for downtown, a sense of place downtown. We don't have a sense of place besides a municipal parking lot. That to me is not a sense of place on a downtown. I thought the Garwood board did a very good job with the point. I think it's a very successful project. The borough won an award on that project. And we have some public space in front of the stores if you're using those stores. We took that to another level. We not only want outdoor dining, we want a sitting area. If you're not shopping there, I can sit and read the paper. The developer or potential developers are going to have to agree to that. We also want to place into the plan that we have rooftop access to either dining or rooftop patio area. If I want to see the sun go down in Garwood, I can go on the rooftop for this facility. That's in this plan. So a number of items are placed in this plan: commuter parking, shopping, our affordable housing. They have to build our affordable housing, not us. It's built with private money. They also have to do a thorough cleanup. Now, Petro Plastics, as a number of you know, Casale was, I guess, Alcoa at one time. In fact, my father worked there for a brief time after World War II. That site is extremely contaminated. It needs, from the estimates we're hearing, over $5 million to clean up. It's not Garwood land, and we don't have the funding to clean it up anyway. So the private developer would have to come in and perform the cleanup to the highest standards in the state, residential standards. They're much higher than industrial standards. So the planning board also saw, hey, if we can have this area, a redevelopment area, we can meet these criteria. Also, we can have a site that has extreme contamination from PCBs that the state of New Jersey would monitor and monitor their cleanup. So these are things that we've been wrestling with for about a year. But we've known about the site for over 10 years. We've looked at the site for a 10-year period of time. And the reason we're doing the plan now is twofold. We have a potential developer who has purchased one of the parcels. He has put his name in the hat to be named the redeveloper of the area. So we have interest from a developer who said, I'll buy it, I'll clean it up. What do you folks want? I want to get my density to make it work, but what do you folks want? The planning board comes back and states, we want parking, we would like the additional, I'm losing here, and we need the affordable component to be built into the project. The developer would have to agree on the stipulations that we're asking. That will be part of a redevelopment agreement. What the planning board decides is what density and how the project will look like. So the reason we felt the density can be supported in this location is because it's across the street of the train station. If it was not across the street from the train station, I don't think this board would consider the density. But because it's walking distance, if you live there, you park your car, you go down in the elevator, you take the train. If you don't take the train, you take your car to go to work. So we felt, the board felt, that if there was anywhere in Garwood that would be required to do high-density residential, this was it. It wasn't the parking lot, the Garwood, the catering facility, it wasn't the parking lot of St. Anne's. I don't even like using Garwood people. It's too far from the train station. If you look at the success Cranford has had with its Riverwalk, I think this is a much better project than Riverwalk. Riverwalk does not have a public component, such as the plaza in front. The Riverwalk does not have 100 spaces open to downtown Cranford shoppers. Riverwalk not supply a large number of commuter spaces. Don't forget, when Cranford did the first phase, the crossings, they bonded. I couldn't believe what they did. Their planner was silent when the municipality floated the bonds to build that parking deck. They're still paying the bond on that parking deck from the developer. We're not doing any of that. And I couldn't believe, again, that Cranford did that. I told the politicians that's insanity to make taxpayers pay for parking that would assist the Cranford Crossings project, but they did. We're not doing any of that. Well, hopefully, what we have done at the planning board level is listen to people like Joe McCarty, who I've known, looked at the problems in Cranford, and where they failed and where they went right, and looked at Scotch Plains, looked at Berkeley Heights, and I think we're in a better position than any of those municipalities to meet the requirements that the state is demanding on affordable housing. So this is not, again, a strictly, it's only 10% of the units will be affordable. 90% will be market rate luxury apartments, and the owner or the prospective developer who currently owns one of the parcels is here tonight to talk about the studies that he has done and what he's looking at. If it's anything like Cranford Riverwalk, there's certain apartments there that go for $3,000 a month. It's a crazy number, but that's what's going on for transit-friendly, urban, new type of construction. In fact, when I saw the layouts that the prospective developer gave to the board, there's pools, gyms, very large outdoor pool, open to the residents of the facility. It's a very high-end complex, but I don't want to go into what they're doing. They're also looking to do a dog walk facility on the rooftop. If you're a resident of the facility, it's going to be a dog-friendly facility. You can go up to the rooftop, it's going to have dog runs and green areas on the roof. It's going to have green-style roofs in this area. So, in fact, I've worked for almost every municipality in this county. I have yet to see a plan this luxurious of apartment buildings. So, you know, this I think is better than apartments in Cranford. In Union, at the Union train station across from Kane University, the Avenue, these are higher end than those, and those are doing very well. We're talking to the mayor of Union. So from my experience with development in Union County, this I think is the highest level luxury apartments proposed currently in Union County. So that's something that we as a board would take their exhibits and we bring it back to the board, to the subcommittee, to the board. We would look at the comment and send our comments back. So this study we're doing now is just a culmination of all that work. So it's a culmination of reports, studies that I have here over the years, which we've proposed in a redevelopment plan. Now, the redevelopment plan is a recommendation that this board will look at, that my firm drafted with the assistance of many people. Again, with Joining Towns, NJ Transit, New Jersey Affordable Housing, other private consultants that assist my firm, financial analysis, looking at different items as far as transportation planning, trip generation for traffic. All these things go into planning a job of this magnitude. Garwood, you know, council wasn't involved, and the planning board did a phenomenal job with the point. We took a facility that was a Thomas & Betts industrial facility that was contaminated. That's the old Thomas & Betts. I lived on Second Avenue. That site needed over $1 million in cleanup. That's where the point is now, the apartments. That's the view. That was the parking lot. Thomas & Betts was an electrical manufacturing facility. They had an operation in the city of Elizabeth and an operation in Garwood. When they shut down, it was an abandoned facility, we had vagrants living in there, it was horrendous. Private developer wanted to put Walgreens in there. We met with the developer, said we don't want Walgreens. We already have Walgreens at the current facility, we don't want more big box. We want something better, we want something different, we want something vibrant. So we work with the developer, come up with the point. The first phase of the point was retail with apartments above, with 55 and older townhouses in the rear. So at the time, Thomas and Beth was paying very little in taxes, and currently, the point townhouses alone pay over $500,000 a year in taxes, and the loft apartments in retail pay about $350,000 a year in taxes. So you have almost $900,000 in new tax rateables generated from sites that look like this. I know, I took these pictures. These pictures were over 15 years ago. That was the old abandoned building on North Avenue. That had a dry cleaner in it, and also had $1 million cleaner. So between the two projects, Garwood was able to achieve $2 million of environmental cleanup and almost $1 million in new rateables by working with the developer, not fighting the developer. So the developer said, I'll clean it up on my dime, I'll pick up all the costs, build the retail. If you didn't want to do the retail, I'll build the retail if you work with me. You build the retail has been phenomenal. They self-regulate over there as far as who's in what homes. We've never had any issues with that development. As far as planning, those are over 55. So now we have very good success there. We didn't litigate. We worked with the developer. We got a cleanup done. We took a section of town that was a total blight. We made it the premier section of town. I feel, premier section of town. So now we're looking to go to the next phase. And now that's what we have here today, near the train station. We're looking to do luxury apartments with a multitude of amenities. If you come up, we'll have a little intermission. That's renderings of downtown. We asked the developer a couple of key criteria. We didn't want 4 stories right up on South Avenue. So the developers were willing to build 3, step back to 4th floor, and have penthouse units. We really opened it up to a different type of development, less dense than the Cranford Riverwalk project, more public component than the Cranford Riverwalk project with a large plaza area. More parking available to the general public than the Cranford project, and more commuter parking than the Cranford project. So, in dealings, we felt as a planning board that we're getting somewhere. We're achieving something, first off, I think, which is a good-looking project that the developer potentially would like to build. But he's looking to work with Garwood to achieve a uniformity, a project where he can make good money. He can bring in luxury apartments. We have no control on the rent of 90% of these apartments. If he wants to charge them all at $3,000 each, God bless him. I really think he's looking at the Westfield market as far as getting close to a train station, having an apartment that you can walk to the train station that's animal friendly. He's looking to go high-end to capture the high-end market. To actually, in my opinion, he wants to take away from the little bit of crap that's going on because the Wilf project is making so much money for the Wilf family. So, in those meetings we have had with the planning board, with the subcommittee, is how this report has gotten generated. This is only the first phase. We're just kind of mapping out what we want to see as a planning board. Then we take that and write it in ordinance form in a pamphlet. We send it to council. Council has the right to make that an ordinance, not this planning board. This planning board is the arm of council that's to deal with land use. That's all the planning board is. It's the development arm of council that the mayor sits on, and so is council liaison. They sit on the planning board. They have input. They hopefully give their input because we don't want something, all this time and money, because I'm being paid by the board, to do a report that just gets rejected. So we're trying to work on something that will meet a lot of our requirements with over the next 10 years to keep Garwood vibrant, to redevelop our downtown, and to hopefully meet some of our NJ transit. Now, before we go over, I just wanted to go back into the site we're looking at. That's the south. I took these photographs today. That's a view along South Avenue. Every doorway to the Petro building is collapsing. There's structural damage. Those are the loading ramps. Those are the truck loading ramps behind the fitness center of the old bank. Those are the loading ramps on the other side of the old bank. That's what you see when you leave the train, when you get dropped off at Garwood. That's the back of Casale property. That's the rear, that's the view when you're coming from Westfield on the train, what you see from the Casale property, Garwood. These have been that way for quite some time. This is what we're dealing with. So, you know, there were discussions during the process, what else can we bring in? Does it have to be residential? Well, I work for a large municipality. I do work in Carteret, Amboy, St. Elizabeth, Linden, Newark. I've done. You don't want large-scale warehouse here. We do the large-scale warehouses, 300 trucks a day. We just did weight firms in the facility in Elizabeth. We get 300 to 400 trucks a day. This facility can't handle it, nor should it be here. It's next to a major train line into Manhattan. It's a piece of gold. Roselle, I also work for the Borough of Kenilworth. They wish they were Garwood. They say, we wish we were you. We wish we had a train station into Manhattan. We know that based on the limited service through the tunnel, the new tunnel's not going to come for another 10 years. There's limited service into Manhattan. Those that have the train station have. Those that do not will not get additional. The ridership is not going to go. They can stop additional trains, and J Transit can stop them in Garwood because they're already on route. All we're asking, if Garwood does the right thing, meet its state's requirement for affordable housing, that the state, all NJ Transit would do is to have additional stops. We feel the additional stops will help the entire borough, so commuters don't have to go to Cranford or go to Westfield to catch additional trains. They can get away from the borough of Garwood. So I don't want to go too far into that end of it. Maybe some of the board members who will take answers questions from the public.
Yeah, I think maybe this time we'll take maybe a 10-minute break.
Before the break, the reason I had Garwood Senior and Joe Accordi was so nice, they're planning their low and moderate income senior housing now. Garwood has built that. We didn't build it, but Westfield Senior Housing built that. A percentage of that goes toward affordable housing because Garwood has decided to accept senior housing, and senior housing is affordable. A portion of these units add to our calculation, so our numbers have gone down. Our obligation was 60 units, 61 units. We're going to probably get credit somewhere along the line of the senior housing. We're looking at about 7 to 9 units of affordable housing that we get credit for because of the senior facility. This facility is credit for approximately 31 to 32. This facility next to the train station, we're still going to be deficient 9 units. We're hoping to work an agreement out with paperboard to not do entirely residential, a small component of residential, possibly mix that with commercial and retail. But the large burden or the big chunk of residential units we're looking to place in Casale are, again, because the developer is willing to construct a large deck. There's no other place to construct a large deck in Garwood. You don't really affect the residents. That would be in the rear along the railroad tracks. So it wouldn't, across behind the deck is the Hess station and the other factory. So you really couldn't see it from the next closest residential would be all the way, it wouldn't even be the school, it would be, so that would be the deck, the Hess station is there, the old factory is there, the catering facility and hotel is there, and then on Second Avenue is a school. So the closest residential to the north is all the way on Third or on the side of Second. Same thing going south. Across the street from the deck would be the municipal parking garage, and then it would be Willow, units on Willow. But if you're going to put a deck anywhere, that would be the place to place it. That deck would be entirely funded by the developer. No money from the borough of Garwood. Cranford could not achieve that. The developer made Cranford float the bond, and Cranford had to pay down some of that bond. We will not do that. So maybe now we'll take a short break and
Yeah, we'll take a 10-minute break. Make it 9:03.